Facebook, and it touched me in a big way.
Well, you have 2 boys.
I got 2 boys, and my wife and I, it always seems like the biggest get in are how to deal with our sons, and I believe that you gotta teach them to be responsible and strong and capable, and that's the way that I choose to show love, I think. And my wife is more coddling.
She wants to show
make everything okay,
and yeah,
right, which is cool. But when I read this list, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Hey, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
So I'm assuming you have a couple of kids, right?
I do. I have a daughter who's 11 and a son who just turned 4.
And where did the inspiration for this list come from?
Ironically, from a negative comment that I received on my blog. I write a humor blog, and I had written a letter. It's called A Letter to My Kids, and it really was supposed to point out the kind of one-sided society that sometimes we live in, where we worry so much about our girls, and then we're like, all right, so now just stay out of trouble. You know, but daughter, here, do this and this and this. So I had written that list as something funny, and then I got a negative comment that said, well, obviously you don't love your son as much as you do your daughter. And I thought, of course I do. How could you not say this is funny? Mm-hmm. Well, what would I tell my son? So while I was cooking dinner on a Sunday afternoon, this list started popping in my head. I literally sat down and wrote it in about 15 minutes. Now, if I'd known that 70 million people were going to read it, I would have spent at least 20. I have no idea. You know, I posted it on my blog, and the second day it was on my blog, it was pinned on Pinterest 100,000 times.
Wow.
Awesome.
So you really struck a nerve here. What do you think you said in this list that obviously connected with so many moms and dads?
I don't know. I think part of it is that it's real. You know, this is genuinely what I would tell to my son. These are the things that we go through. Like you said, as a parent, you know, my husband and I have the same struggles, you know, that you and your wife do. So I think it's real. I think there's some humor in there, which helps. I think there's some very tender and serious things in there. And I just think it resonates with a lot of people. People who have sons, people who have daughters who want their daughters to marry good sons.
Let's go.
I guess it struck a chord. I don't know.
Let's go through a couple of these, because some of them really stood out to me.
Sure.
The first one here, I preach and preach and preach, and I've talked about it on the show so many times. Play a sport, she says. It will teach you how to win honorably, lose gracefully, respect authority, work with others, manage your time, and stay out of trouble, and maybe even throw or catch. I couldn't agree more with you.
Right.
But what if your child's not athletically
Go
inclined?
ahead.
It doesn't. I don't think it matters. It was.
No?
I was never a big. Like, I grew up in a community where everybody played all sports. Like, guys played football and they played baseball, and they would play hockey, even though our school didn't have a hockey team. They would play hockey, and I wasn't. I played baseball for 2 years and was okay at it. Mm-hmm. You know, I was like right fielder, baseball dude. But the aspect of being on the team, I wish I had done more. Like, I wish I had one of those football coachy type memories, you know what I mean, or like fighting for a championship and winning or losing, but I had an organization. Football was the big sport at my school, and I wish I played it just to be a part of that. Even if it was getting rejected for the team, I wish I had the experience of
learning how to work through that.
Yes.
Yeah, what I've learned is, because one of my sons isn't really into sports, and I always thought as a father, because I'm athletic and I played sports my whole life, for sure I'm going to have sons that love sports. Well, my oldest son isn't really into it that much. He's more into theater, but what I realize is that's his sport. All the things that you say in this very first one about having people depend on you, you win together, you lose together, doesn't really necessarily have to be sports. It could be any activity where others are depending on each other,
Where teamwork is involved.
Right.
Yeah, Bert, you're right. And that's been some of the criticism about that one item in particular, is that it's too gender specific or too specific. But for me, when I said play a sport, for me, that was what my kids do. I never played a sport. Mm-hmm. So it's not how I learned teamwork. I learned teamwork through church activities or through, you know, you can be on the debate team or whatever. Just as long as you're in some kind of activity where you learn how to work with others, that's all. That's all the point I was trying to make there, but I totally agree with you.
One is great here also. God, this is such a good list. I wish we had time to do all 20. We'll put a com.
And then you'll get 7,040,000 views.
Hey, I appreciate every single one.
You will set the tone for the sexual relationship, so don't take something away from her that you can't give back.
What's that mean?
Well, Well, when I wrote that, and that one's probably got the most criticism of any, so I kind of hate to even talk about it, but when I wrote that, what I thought from my experience was, growing up as a young girl, it seemed that the conversations, you hear about the conversations that boys have in the locker room, but what we never talk about is the conversations that girls have in the locker room. And it seems to me that, a lot of my friends or people that I knew when they were younger felt pressured, or pushed to do certain things, to perform sexually certain ways for boys. And so my thought is, that just happens in our society, and I wish it wasn't that way. Girls set the tone every time, but that wasn't my experience growing up. So my thing is, I want to raise a son who understands to treat women with respect and to not push anything on any woman and to let her make her choices and not feel bad about them, respect them. So that's what I was trying to say there.
I wish I would have realized, like, back in high school when I started having sex, that boys and girls view it so differently. Like, for me, it was, I remember my brother telling me, this is awful, I remember my stepbrother telling me, look, if you're still a virgin by the time you're 18 years old, you're going to be gay. I remember him specifically saying that. And I'm not even sure I knew what it meant. But for me as a guy, it was like, okay, this is a badge of honor.
It was more like a conquest, right?
It's a conquest, right? And it's so different for women. They're going to remember that, and it's going to set the tone for a very long time,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wish I would have realized that when I was younger. It's a great point on
Yeah. Yeah.
Allow me to introduce you to the dishwasher, oven, washing machine, iron, vacuum, mop, and broom. Now, please go use them. Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
sir. Woohoo!
I give Bart's mother credit for that, because she raised all her sons to be very capable to take care of themselves in the kitchen, doing laundry. Because she said women growing up during their area were so feminist, and that they were going to end up marrying women who didn't know how to cook. So she wanted to make sure her boys knew how to cook and could feed themselves.
And she had no idea that he was going to end up being a kept man.
He really is your concubine.
That's the man I married. I married a man that helps in the house and helps with the children, and we split things 50-50. We both work. That's the kind of man I want to raise my son to be.
We're lucky enough to have people that come in and clean our house once a week. And I realized a couple of weeks ago, I said to Stacy, you realize that Hayden has never had to use the vacuum before. So now one of his chores, even though we have people that come in and clean the house, they are forbidden to vacuum his room. We got a vacuum, and he has to do that every Tuesday.
Right. It's important.
This one also here, treat women kindly. Forever is a long time to live alone, and it's even longer to live with somebody who hates your guts.
Ain't that the truth?
That's for sure. Be strong and tender at the same time. This, again, is a list of 20 things a mother should tell her son. The reason that they're called private parts is because they're private. Please do not scratch them in public, boys. You can see it on national TV during baseball season and football season.
Personal pet peeve of mine, it had to make the list.
Peer pressure is a scary thing. Be a good leader, and others will follow. What was the inspiration behind that one?
When I was growing up, you see, things are different now than when I was growing up. I hate to sound older than I am. I'm only 38. But don't you think that kids today just face things that we didn't face when we were growing up?
Yeah.
And so that was something that I wanted to make sure my son understood as, it's okay to be your own person. It's okay to be a good person. It's okay to be the person that we've raised you to be. Go out there, and if you have the strength, the inner strength and the confidence to be that person, other people are going to want to be that person. Everybody wants to be their own person. It's just hard to have the strength to do that sometimes.
Bringing her flowers for no reason is always a good idea.
Right.
There are women that are high-fiving you right now.
And, I'm not even a flowers person, so that applies, gentlemen, to shoes, jewelry, just whatever her thing is.
But bring your woman gifts.
Yeah.
Learn to clean the house and bring your woman gifts.
It always gets you favors.
I'm starting to take an issue with this list.
We're creating a movement, Amanda. I like it.
It's great, Amanda. Really great work.
Thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and we will post a link on over to the 20 things a mother should tell her son from Amanda Hohenberry. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care now.
All right, take the gift. Thanks.